Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, hang on. Right, okay. If you want to grab your audience at a cinema, make sure you have a memorable opening. It could be a unique credit scene, a blockbusting set piece, or a clever bit of world building. Whatever it is, we are going to reveal our 10 favourite movie openings. First, here's Ross with 10 movie opening facts.
Hello. So the opening scene of Gravity lasts for approximately 13 minutes. And while it looks like a continuous shot, it had over 120 cuts stitched together by CGI and visual effects.
What's your favorite scary movie?
That was it, Ross. Go on, carry on. It wasn't very loud.
Fantastic.
I'll nod as well.
The opening shot of The Shining features an aerial view of a mountain road leading to the Overlook Hotel. He designed a custom rig that allowed the camera to be mounted on the helicopter, providing a similar level of stability and smoothness to a Steadicam. The opening scene of Jaws was filmed using a mechanical shark that malfunctioned during filming.
Oh. I did say a nonchalant little nod, Ross, not like head banging. Keep going, son. Keep going.
Okie dokie. The opening scene of Up was originally intended to be a standalone short film, but it was eventually decided to incorporate it into the beginning of the movie.
People are always asking me if I know Tyler Durden.
Great film. The only colour used in Schindler's List was in the opening scene, in which a Jewish family are praying, the girl in the red dress, and finally in the final scene of the film.
And this is my trusty servant, Patsy.
What's interesting about the opening scene of The Lion King is it was inspired by a similar sequence from the Disney movie Bambi and features Swahili lyrics.
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
Number 7, the opening scene of The Matrix introduced a new visual effects technique known as bullet time, in which multiple cameras create a slow motion effect. Number 8, E.T. features a group of aliens exploring a forest before being chased off by humans. The scene was originally intended to be part of a different film, but Spielberg repurposed it for E.T. after deciding to make a movie about a friendly alien.
Adventure is out there!
Number 9, in The Dark Knight Rises, the opening scene reportedly cost around $10 million to produce, featuring a mid-air plane heist that involved a real plane being suspended in the air and blown up.
Dick.
And lastly, the opening scene of the Bond film Spectre holds the Guinness World Records for the largest film explosion ever, with a total of 8,418 litres of fuel and 33 kilos of explosives.
I'll see you on the beach.
Wonderfully done, Ross. Wonderfully done, Ross. That was.
Did you like my nodding?
That was good. Yeah, the nodding was fantastic. Make sure you watch this on YouTube so you can see the nodding. I might put a little bit of heavy metal music underneath it just so that it fits. So we're doing top 10 movie openings, and the person we have to thank for this one is one of our Patreon top heads. Yay. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Rick back. Yes, he's back. He's back. How you doing, Rick? You good?
I'm well, very well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right. Ross is having a ball.
Bad. Yeah, I'm having a great time.
Neil Mark 2.
Yes. So it was your idea, this, when you came to us with this one. Why did you want to do movie openings?
I'm a big movie head anyway, and I just think the movie opening A sets the tone for the movie, and B it's almost a mini movie in itself sometimes. And I just think that they're just so fascinating. I just think they're really, and also as soon as you go into a cinema or you watch them, they do stick in your head, the ones you really love. And if you have one that's really good and you go into a cinema, you see a film for the first time, it just makes a brilliant film into like a classic. So.
Yeah, I made a point of messaging you because we wanted to have the parameters of what a movie opening could be, because it could be, like I said in the opening, it could be just a great set of credits. A couple of mine are like the first 15-20 minutes of the movie, because it was just like set pieces that are all together.
Totally. I think it's kind of up for grabs, really. It's kind of, an opening scene could be, I mean, I think I saw Babylon at the cinema recently, and technically the opening scene to that is about 45 minutes long.
Oh, really?
So it's nuts. So I mean that's maybe pushing it a little bit, but I think it can be as short as long as you want, really.
Because I also think that, I mean, I don't know whether you guys, I haven't seen your top 10s, obviously. There are some movies that their openings are what part of their movie, if that makes sense. Like Bond always has a great opening section of a movie, and it's normally nothing to do with the main story. It's part of an old mission, or it's just something you're going to see the climax thing of a particular mission that Bond is on. So, Ross, what do you class as a good opening scene?
I have mixed views on it. I think I'm not an action fan, so films that are full of action, they don't really do it for me. So, but I appreciate them. Some of the Bond films, I do appreciate the openings to those, but I like ones that are a little subtle, a little bit clever. So ones where they are repeated later on in the film, for example. I quite like where there's a throwback and you're looking at the past at the start. So that's what I like in an opening.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's crack on, because I'm fascinated to see what everybody else has got, and so I want to see how many duplicates we get on this one, because this is going to be interesting.
Absolutely,
so, Rick, fire away with your number 10.
Okay, so I've gone quite popular with my number 10, but I've gone for Avengers: Infinity War for number 10, because I just think that the culmination of 10 years of movies building up to this purple bloke that we're going to see for like 10 years, and it's hinted and hinted and hinted, and it could have easily have gone so wrong, and there was so much weight of expectation on it, and all of a sudden, not only is it so good, and they pitch it so well, and I love the fact that it's just it cuts in, and it doesn't even show how he subdues Thor and how he kills half the crew. He's already done it, and it's like, it's no sweat. And it just absolutely nails the tone for those two movies, I think, and they tie up the Marvel franchise, or at least phase, however many phases it is for that, just so really, really well. It's really well done. And so many deaths. It's like Heimdall dies, Loki dies, Thor's basically dead pretty much, but floating through space. And I just think it just absolutely nails the start of that end, of the end of that sort of sequence of movies, basically. I think it's such an important opening scene, and it gets it absolutely bang on, I think.
Yeah, that is a good one. I mean, again, Ross, you're not an action fan, so I'm assuming you don't watch a lot of Marvel movies.
No, sadly. This is going to be like the 90s song one.
I've got some more grown-up ones later on, so that's fine, Ross.
But I do agree with you. The one thing about that is that although Marvel is criticised a little bit for like killing people off, but they're never really dead.
Yeah.
But you thought, oh my God, like I said, Hemdale, whatever his name, Hemdale. Oh, what's his name?
I think it's
Heimdall dies, and again, I must say, stressed. There may be spoilers. We might be talking like spoilers in these moments. And then Loki dies, and you think, okay, all right, well, the two people have gone. Anybody could die, really.
Well, that's just it. It actually, for a superhero franchise where everybody's safe and everybody survives, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, it's not going to go like this in this end bit. There is going to be deaths, and obviously spoilers. Vision dies in it, and he doesn't come back. Well, maybe it comes back in the series, but it comes back with a little sort of asterisk next to his head. But and then there's the fight with the Hulk where he just totally brushes him to one side. You're like, oh, okay, right. Yeah. So there really is, the stakes are pretty high here. So I just think it's great, and I'm a bit of a Marvel head on those first phase of movies anyway.
I am absolutely, completely agree. That's a great one to kick us off with. Go on then, Ross. Your number 10.
My number 10 is Scream, which is probably really lame.
No, the original Scream,
The original Scream, yeah. I just like the way it was set out. Drew cooking popcorn, and I think just the invasion into the home. I've always horror films, for example, I always get more affected by them if I think this could actually happen. So if it's something like Paranormal Activity, for example, where you have the CCTV in the corner of the bedroom, that was worse than some person being possessed in some different kind of setting, because it's something that you could be sleeping and having a camera running, and I'd be scared to look at what was on there afterwards. So Scream with a back door and a front door and a killer, that I think it just grabbed me. So and it's got some classic lines, the conversation with Sydney on the phone.
Good shout out.
You couldn't really hear it. You couldn't really hear it. That was the first one. Sorry, Rick, go on.
Sorry, no, go on.
No, I was saying that was the first little drop that I played that you couldn't really hear. Yeah, it wasn't very loud. Look.
What's your favorite scary movie?
You can sort of hear it there. There you go. That was the first one.
There we are.
Go on, Rick, you were saying?
I was just saying that I love the little switch and bait where is it Drew Barrymore, and you think, oh, she's the star, and then she just gets killed straight away. And again, it sets the stakes, and you think, oh, okay, right.
Because it was someone that you recognised. You thought, oh, she's the star of the show. Oh, Jesus Christ, she's just been butchered. Oh, no. Yeah, it completely throws you off. Yeah. I remember going to see that at the cinema and constantly, all the way through the movie, going, that's the killer. That's the killer. Oh, no. And that one, no, they've just been killed. That's the killer. And trying double guessing it all the way through and then not getting it at the end. It's a great film.
Yeah,
absolutely great film. Okay, my number 10 is something very similar to Scream. It's La La Land. So it's the opening in La La Land. I don't know if either of you guys have seen La La Land at all.
No, I've never seen it. No, it's passed me by.
No,
it is.
This is the guy with the Notebook guy, isn't it?
That's it. That's exactly what it says on the poster from the Notebook guy. It says on there. Yeah, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Yeah. But it's like the opening is it's the same expressway they used in Speed. You know, when the bus jumps over. It's that part of the LA freeway, and all the cars are stopped, and everybody gets out, and there's a big song and dance number, and it's colourful, and it's just it's like old Hollywood. It is fantastic. It's a really good song. Can't remember what the song is, but it's really, and it really sets up the story. But it's just like it's got some great choreography in it. Like I say, it's lovely and colourful. It's a beautiful sunny LA day with just like this gridlock on the freeway, but everybody just gets up and starts dancing on the top of their cars. It's fantastic. It's a really good film as well. I don't know if you like musicals or not, but Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are fantastic in it. So
yeah, I've heard really, really good things about it actually, and it is one of those ones that I'm not a massive musical sort of fan, but I mean, I will watch them. I'll sit down and watch them. But I have heard that in particular is actually brilliant. So I do need to get myself in gear and see that.
I would thoroughly recommend it. Right, Rick.
Either.
Ricky Rich. Your number 9, please.
Okay, so my number 9 is The Dark Knight.
That's my number 9.
See?
There you go.
I wonder if we're all going to have the same number ones, but I mean, I'm not sure. This one's pretty particular, this one, isn't it? But yeah, I just, I mean, if you've got it in there, you'll know. I just think it's brilliant. For one thing that I always think back on this one is just, it's basically, it tells you the story of the Joker in this opening scene perfectly. He's he's part of the crew, and everyone's double crossing each other, and they're talking about him, and they're almost telling the audience about the character of this person, going, oh, I heard he wears makeup, heard does this, heard does that, and they're all just killing each other off, and then at the end it's like, who's supposed to be, where's the driver of this bus? And he goes, I don't know what bus. And he's inching out of the way, and then he gets run over, and then he shoots the guy that comes off the bus, and it's all just to get the money for himself. And I just think it's so brilliantly done, and it's filled with such dark humor. Yeah. That you're watching it going, oh, this is really actually quite cold, but you kind of going, it's quite funny though as well. Yeah, I just think it's brilliant.
Beautifully pieced together as well. I mean, it's Christopher Nolan, isn't it? Yeah. So it's, I think what you said is the fact that it's a little trickle down, isn't it? Everybody sort of thinks that everyone else is whoever this guy is. And they're all getting picked off because they've all been told the person behind them has got to kill that person, and it sort of like keeps going until it's the Joker left at the end. Yeah, very good. Ross,
there's a note in the background that Nolan uses where it's like
yes
all the way through, and you just go oh, and it's just so well done.
So unsettling, unsettling. Ross, are you a Batman fan? Was that too much? Is that too much action for you?
I have watched one Batman film, And I did start watching the one about the Joker. Was it called Joker? I started to watch that, but I haven't finished.
Oh dear.
So, but it sounds great from what you've both said. So I'm going to watch it.
It's actually it's sort of it's a thriller, really, isn't it? It's very sort of it's Chris Nolan, but it's very Michael Mann-y, I think, as well.
Yes.
It's kind of a thrillery sort of movie, but Heath Ledger is just absolutely spectacular in it anyway. It's worth watching, even if you're not a massive Batman fan, just for him. It's his film.
Yeah, and I think it's about time now, Ross. It is 15 years old, for crying out loud. Goodness me.
Yeah.
Okay, then, Ross.
I'm in my 40s as well.
You're number 9 then, Ross. Go on.
I've got Full Metal Jacket.
Okay.
And, well, it's a bit of a cheat, actually, because the opening scene is guys getting haircuts. But actually, it's the bit just after the haircuts where the corporal is walking through in a single shot. It's just barking out his orders. And yeah, it's just really well done, I think. I think the fact about that as well is the guy who was brought in to do the barking the orders, the drill sergeant, he came in to actually train the actors originally, but did a better job. So he was then cast as the actual drill sergeant.
Yeah.
I learned.
I got to look and see his name, because
Isn't it Ron? It's something like Ron L.
Something like that, because he was also in Seven as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was like the
and also he was in The Frighteners, playing basically the same role.
That's right. R. Lee Emery was his name.
It's a great show.
Ernie Emery, R. Lee Emery. Oh, names. Okay, good one, Ross. My number 9 was The Dark Knight. So back to you, Rick. Number 8.
My number 8 is Casino Royale.
Okay.
I just we talked about Bond openings anyway, and very, very nearly. I sort of came in and out. My list was what's the one with Roger Moore where he jumps out with the parachute with the Union Jack on it? Is that?
I think that's A Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah. So that came in and out as well. But I just thought, you know what, Casino Royale. I saw it recently, and I just think I love the film, and I think again it's in black and white, and it's how he gets his 00 status, and it shows that it sort of has to show a new type of Bond as well, because we're rebooting. So this whole violent, clinical, very cold Bond, it gets quite serious. I think a lot of people criticize it being too serious and less humor than the other Bond movies, but I just think it's so confident with what it's doing, and I love the black and white thing, and it's just that the precursor to him becoming 007. I just think it's a really grown-up, borny sort of Bond, which I think it's just a great opening.
A lot more gritty and real world, I suppose you could call it. But and then it followed on with the like the parkour chase scene, didn't it, as well, after that, which was just like mesmerizing watching it on the big screen. Some of the moves that other guy did was just, how do they do that? It's crazy, like sliding through small holes, and
it was unreal. Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got Bond chasing him, and he just runs through a wall.
Yes, yeah.
He's like, none of that. I'm having
chucks
none of that.
A gun at him because he's run out of bullets. He just tries to just chuck it at him. Ross?
Yeah, I really like Casino Royale. This is the 2006 film.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah. That's my favourite Bond film. I haven't seen a great deal of them. I've seen about 8 or 9, I think. But that I really liked. I really did enjoy that. But I can't remember the opening scene. I can just I remember the film, but not the opening scene.
Oh, I'd go back and watch it. It's really good. Really good.
I think I've seen the film about 3 times as well.
Yeah.
Well, any of our Patreon top heads, just remember there'll be the video playlist. I'll put all of the opening, as long as they're on YouTube, obviously. I'll put all of the opening scenes on there on the video playlist for this episode. Okay, Ross, your number 8 then, please.
Well, it's my favourite film, so I had to kind of include it. It's not the best opening scene, to be fair, but it's Schindler's List, and it has a Hebrew family doing a prayer with a candle lit. As I mentioned in the facts, it's only the one of 3 occasions when there's colour in the film, and even the last scene in the film is in colour, but it's actually, it cuts to non-actors, real people who are the survivors.
That's right.
Who are putting stones down on the grave. So So I don't really count that as part of the film in a way. It's almost like a bit after. So so this is really the only scene that's in colour in the film, and I bet it's still very dark and gloomy with the candle light pretty much being the colour. And then it cuts to the train station where and now it's in black and white onwards, and it's in Krakow, and the families are now being moved into the cities from the countryside. So it's the big kind of purging into the cities. So I think it just sets the when you watch the film and you kind of then watch it from the start again, you see how powerful that scene is at the start, I think.
Yeah,
so it sort of sets the tone for what's going to come.
Masterpiece of a movie, isn't it? It's very hard to say that it's a film that you enjoy watching, because I don't think I think everybody should watch that movie, but it's not a movie that I think you enjoy watching. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah, I watch it annually. It's like my little
Treats.
thing. Yeah, I watched all of the This Is England franchise annually and Schindler's List annually. So
right,
but just like a keep up the good name.
Is it Ray Fiennes that's in that as the German officer? Yeah, he's really chilling in that. It's when he's shooting people.
He's amazing. Yeah.
I've said it before on another episode that me and my brother went and saw that and Philadelphia on the same day. The Tom Hanks AIDS movie. We went and saw that as a double header. It was what a barrel of laughs we had that day. I'll tell you, it was like
that reminds me of is it The Naked Gun, where Frank Drebin's walking out of the cinema and they're laughing and joking and it pans up and it says Platoon.
Yes. Oh dear me. Okay, my number 8. It's a Tarantino movie. Inglourious Bastards is mine.
That's my number 6.
That's your number 6, Rick. Yeah. I think pretty much every. That's what. Sorry, Ross.
No, carry on. That's right.
Oh, I thought you had it as one of your numbers. Was it? No.
Yeah.
It is, but no. Okay, we're not going to talk about it.
No, we won't talk about it.
Okay, that's fair enough. Right. Okay. I think you could pick any Tarantino movie because pretty much all of his movies have great starts to the. Reservoir Dogs has the restaurant scene. The one, what was it? Kill Bill, the first volume of Kill Bill, just the black and white scene where the bride gets shot in the head, and then even the scene after that where the bride is going off and seeing, I can't remember what is that, Vivica A. Fox, and they have the fight in the house with the little daughter, and it's crazy stuff. But this one, I think, is just the acting in it, and Christoph Waltz as Hans Lander, just the way that it builds, and the way that the poor French farmer starts off being so clever. He thinks he's being so clever, and he knows what he's doing, and the way that Hans Lander just breaks him down, and just by doing simple things, because that's what he's good at. He's good at hunting out Jews, and he knows that there are ones there. It's just a masterclass of acting and writing and directing and just building of the tension of that. Just the opening scene of the movie, and you think, well, I've got no idea what's going to come now. This just...
Yeah, that scene is 19 minutes, 15 seconds long.
Thank you very much for that, Ross.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's
an epic.
I think that's great. I mean, I've never seen a glass of milk and a pipe used with so much, menace.
Indeed.
But that's the way. It's the delivery of the speech. The tone is really calm and everything, but sinister.
Yeah.
And just pouring out the milk as well. Just the way it kind of licks the side of the glass and everything else is so nice.
Yeah.
Nicely shot.
And the fact that he's so clever, that he just saying, "I'll talk to you in English. Can we talk in English?" So that the people underneath the floor
that's right.
have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, but even the way he switches into English, he goes from, was he talking to him in French, and he's like, parlez-vous anglais? He's like, oui, and he goes, well, as you're aware, it just starts going straight into English. And you're like, it's the switch that he's just got no scruples whatsoever.
So clever. Okay, so all three of it. Well, I think all three of us might have that one. Rick, your number 7 then, please.
So my number 7 is Trainspotting. which I think is just I almost forgot about this one, and I was doing a bit of research slash, looking through the opening scenes to try and see if I'd missed anything, and I was like, oh my god, I completely forgot about this, and it's just. Was it 96 it came out?
I think it was, yeah.
And it was just Danny Boyle's first, it just burst on the scene as this movie that just did not give a shit who it offended. And Iggy Pop's, Lust for Life running through the streets, just everything about it is just so, it's kind of a game changer. When you think that English movies at that point were very Four Weddings and a Funeral, and all of a sudden this British movie comes along and just blows everything out of the water. And obviously, Ewan McGregor, he's off the back of that, he just went on to become a superstar. I just love it. I just think it's as much as with the music as it is with the visuals, and then obviously it's the choose life, choose a TV, choose a sofa, and you're like, it's just so well done, and it sets the movie up so well. I just love it to bits. I think it's great.
Yeah, iconic. We hate to use the I word on here, but that is iconic.
We're not allowed to use that word, though.
We're not allowed to use that word, I know. But it is, as soon as you hear the drum bit, from Lust for Life.
Yeah.
I don't think of the song. I think straight away all I can see is Ewan McGregor running down the street. That's all I can see when I hear that dum 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 dum.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Ross, thoughts?
Yeah, I also had it as my number 7.
Oh right.
Exactly the same reasons. Yeah, I remember when I was doing English literature and at GCSE, and we had to kind of do like a little synopsis and a poster of a film that was out, and it was in 96. And I remember our teacher. 96. I think I was 15, turning 16 in December. No, it would have been 16, I think. And Trainspotting's an 18, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember people in our class had seen it. I hadn't, because it was an 18. My mum was quite strict about what we watched. But our teacher was kind of encouraging everyone to watch it. And I was thinking, this is, illegal. What are you doing? I did. My film poster I did was Jack with Robin Williams, where he plays a guy who grows at 4 times the speed of an organism. So I was like the geeky end of the class. That makes sense. And I think that's probably come through this podcast as well. But yeah, as soon as I got to watch Trainspotting, it's phenomenal. And that opening scene, so high energy, it's perfect. I think it's great.
Yeah,
very good. Very good. Okay, my number 7 is Watchmen from 2009. Again, one thing that Zack Snyder is really good at is things like little montages, especially to music. And the start of that, where it's basically the history of the Watchmen and this alternative universe. And what's the song? It's the Bob Dylan song.
Times They Are A-Changing.
Times They Are A-Changing. And it's just fascinating. You see what this universe that they're in. It's still Earth, but it's a different political landscape with these superheroes that look after people. I would say look on the video playlist at this if you haven't seen it. And what I love Watchmen as a movie, I think it is just such a good film. It might be a little bit bloated in places. It might not need to be as long as it is, which is one of the things that Zack Snyder tends to get wrong a little bit. But as visually, and the fact that it is just unapologetically violent in places as well, and going in not just that bit, but the whole bit with the comedian at the start, and tonight a comedian died. Thoroughly recommend it if you haven't seen the movie, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think it almost.
Is this another DC Comics one?
What was that, Ross?
Is it a DC Comics?
No, I don't think it is it? I don't think Watchmen is I think it was a graphic novel.
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore, that's right. Yeah, it's Alan Moore. Yeah.
But it almost made it into my list as well. I think it's a really good movie. Like you say, I think Zack Snyder is guilty of bloating movies a little bit. But I actually think it sort of suits The Watchmen. Do you know what I mean? Because the graphic novel, there's so much he's actually not put in there. I think it's really good, and the characters are great. And I just love that scene where Rorschach's in the prison, and they're all like, "Yeah, you're in here with us." He's like, "No, you're in here with me." I was like, "Great."
Yeah, and he's an absolute psycho, isn't he? Absolutely. Okay, yeah, that's so. Let me see. That was my number 7. Rick, your number 6 was Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
So, Ross, your number 6.
Oh, sorry, that's right. You had Inglourious.
Yeah, that's it.
My number 6 is Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, cuts it out.
Right.
Pulp Fiction. And this is one of the ones I referred to at the start, where you have a scene that later on reappears in the film. I think I was a bit late getting to see Pulp Fiction. I think friends of mine were quoting it well before I got to watch it. But yeah, it's a fantastic film. The scene, I think, it just builds up slowly and unsuspecting, and then sort of just bursts out with, the sweary, potty-mouthed outburst in the cafe, which is not what diners want in America, but and then for it to be repeated later, and not just from the point at which it ended, but a little bit back into the same scene. It was cleverly done.
Yeah,
it was like the is it Rashomon? Is it where it's like the same scene but from a different point of view, wasn't it? Because you got John Travolta and
that's right.
Samuel L. Jackson sat in another booth. Yeah, what was the name? It was Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer. Because they're being like they're calling each other lovely names, aren't they? And just chatting about shit. And then she stands up. Any of you motherfuckers move, I'll shoot every motherfucking one of you. You think, where the fuck did that come from?
Do you know what? I almost put.
Have you seen?
But then I almost I really like the scene of John Travolta and Samuel Jackson in the car, and I was like, oh yeah, great. And then I realized that's not the opening scene. No. I went, oh no, and I just couldn't. I was like, I really agonized over putting it in, but I think it's a brilliant opening scene. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Have you seen Tim Roth in Lie to Me, the TV series?
No, I haven't actually.
No.
There's I think there's 3 series of it, and he plays a guy called Cal Lightman, who is a independent guy, an expert in micro expression, and so he gets asked by the FBI to help with a lot of investigations and interviews and stuff, where he can see like a twitch in the face that gives away something. Really clever, sort of psychoanalytic program.
Check that out.
Yeah, really good.
Okay, we'll add that to the list, Ross. Shall we? Where can you see that? Is that streaming somewhere?
Well, I had illegal Russian downloads.
Of course you did. Well, that's perfect.
Well, no, I mean, we bought them in Russia. So they're illegal in Russia, but not probably in the UK or Europe.
Okay. Do you want me to cut that out of the podcast, or are you all right leaving that in?
No, we're good with that. It's good. It's good.
That's fair enough. Okay. My number 6 is, I think it is about the first 15 minutes of the movie, and there's not a single word spoken. There is just music, and I wouldn't say it's action, but There Will Be Blood from 2007. It's Daniel Day-Lewis playing Daniel Plainview, and he's basically just digging a big hole and trying to get, I think he's getting, whether it's gold or oil or something out of the hole. I've never ever understood exactly what it was he was after, and he breaks his leg, and it's just basically him doing the job that he has to do to get himself money, and then he goes into oil and the whole There Will Be Blood stuff. It's just, I don't quite understand why I love the start of this. I think it's because there is no talking in it. It is all just this music. I think it's Trent Reznor that does the music. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's mesmerizing just watching it and just watching Daniel Day-Lewis just doing stuff. I think that's just because of what a great actor he is. He's just watchable, like crouched down in the wind, drinking a cup of coffee. I think you just can't stop watching him.
Yeah, totally agree. He's a little bit like Francis McDormand, where they can do something physical and you just watch it and you're like,
yeah,
oh, God, that's brilliant. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
This sounds a little bit like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul kind of acting. How like they zoom in on a cup of coffee being poured into a cup and emptying a sachet of something into something. It's so close, but really nicely done.
Yeah, I can remember watching it the first time, the whole movie, and I thought to myself, I don't quite understand what's going on, because like nobody says anything. Like there's no line of dialogue for the first probably 15 minutes. And you sort of think, this is weird. But then like when I watched it the second time, I would just watch that opening 15 minutes and not worry about the rest of the movie, because there's just something about that movie, because it goes from him getting this whatever it is that I don't know whether it is he's looking for oil, I suppose, and it's something in the rocks. You would know, Ross, because you're a metal detecting expert. You would know what he was, if you've ever seen it, you would know what it is he's after. And it goes right from that to the point of him like digging his first well and getting oil, and then there's one of his workers' sons, and his worker dies, and he looks after his son, and they're on a train, and that's when the first little line of dialogue is. So it goes through quite a lot of his story. But I don't know, Daniel Day-Lewis, one day we will do like our top 10 actors, and I think Daniel Day-Lewis would be in there for me because he's just so watchable at whatever he does. Yeah, it's crazy. But have you seen the movie, Ross? Have you seen There Will Be Blood?
No.
I feel like it would be right up your alley. That would be
sounds like it. I've got it. I've just Wikipedia'd it, and it looks. Just looking.
I mean, there's no action in it whatsoever. It would be perfect for you.
I know that sounds good. I was just thinking I'd watch that after.
Thoroughly recommend it. Go on then, Rick. Your number 5, then, please.
So my number 5 is Star Wars Episode 4. So I mean, you can't really get a more game-changing opening, I think, to a movie. It's I love The Crawl as well. Like, all of the Episode 4, and I just think you read The Crawl, and it's such an odd thing to do. When you actually sort of stand back and think about it, you just think, okay, so you're just going to write some stuff on the screen and tell me what's happening, and then we're in the movie. But it's so, and I hate to use the word iconic, but I think it is. And then this little ship flies through, and you think, oh, that's quite cool. And then this massive one just comes along the top and just keeps going and going and going, and you're going, Jesus. I just think it's great. And also, I mean, obviously that opening it then goes onto the ship, and it's so economical. Like, you get the bad guy, Darth Vader comes on, you get the MacGuffin, which is the plans, you meet the droids, you meet Princess Leia, and the story is just in motion. Yeah. So it's just it's so good at just setting up the story and just telling you where it's going to go, and you're just in it immediately. I just think it's such a good opening. I think it's great.
That opening crawl was borrowed from like the TV series of Flash Gordon. That's where George Lucas got that from. Because if you watch the old Buster Crabbe 1930s, 1940s TV show, that's exactly how every episode started, with like an opening crawl.
Like the serials.
The old serials.
Right.
I think they did it on the buses as well.
They did. They did do it on the buses. Not quite with the same panache, I must admit. But they did.
Or the same budget.
No, the same budget. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I remember as an 8-year-old kid in some flea pit cinema in Burnham-on-Sea is where I watched it for the very first time. And that cinema's still there, bless them. I can remember sitting there and watching that small little ship fly over, and it felt like an eternity. That Imperial ship coming after it just goes on and on and on, and you think, my God, they've got no chance. They've got that's why I loved Rogue One so much, with the way that it rolled into Episode 4. The end of that movie rolled into Episode 4 so well.
Yeah, I'm surprised this isn't on your list.
I mean, it might be, but then again, it might not be. Who knows? Go on then, Ross. You're number 5.
Yeah, there's no point asking me if I've seen it.
No, well, no, I don't know. It's too much action.
Funnily enough, that is the only scene of Star Wars I have seen.
Jesus Christ. Hang on a minute. The only scene of Star Wars that you've seen. Have you never seen a Star Wars film?
What was the 4th one that came out in around early 2000? Episode 1?
Oh, early 2000.
So it would have been episode 1 was 1999.
It wasn't Darth Vader. It was the next one.
Yeah. Right. Episode 1, yeah.
It wasn't 99. It was one off that. And
so you started with episode 2, did you? That's such a Ross thing to do. You started with episode 2.
Yes. Attack of the Clones. Let's just go straight into the crappy one.
I went with a friend who wanted to see it. I had no idea what was going on.
Of course you didn't. It was episode 2, for crying out loud.
I did buy them all on VHS when I was back at home with my mum and that. And I started to watch it on video, and I just thought, oh, no, I'm not really into this. That was that first. That was this. How
have we known each other for so long? I'd have kicked you to the curb by now. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, right?
Apologies. Well, my number 5 is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
I remember first time I watched this, and it was a long time ago. But even then, I saw that I thought this is really badly acted, because obviously it's just men in monkey suits and they were sort of falling apart at the seams and stuff. But the music is, just great. It's it's a soundtrack, of course, in its own right. That's that song, and I think it's so clever because it sort of, obviously the monolith is there, they touch that, and there's different interpretations of what touching the monolith means. But I know that Kubrick eventually did reveal the meaning of the ending of the film, and it was what I thought it was, which is as you touch it, you basically evolve. The evolution jumps forward one further step. And so to see the apes touch it and be able to use tools and fight off the rival apes, it sort of showed the intelligence that they'd gained by touching it. So yeah, it just went on for ages. It was a long scene, but it was great. It had like real animals in there as well, didn't it? It had that thing, the long-nosed creature. There was like I can't remember what animal it is, ocelot or something. No, can't remember. There was some like kind of cattle type of animal that kind of walked in, and there were pumas or lions or something like that in it as well. So yeah, it's just a very long but great scene, I think.
And there's also the throwing of the bone up, isn't there? Is that the match cut scene? That's because everyone hails that as like the greatest match cut ever. It's brilliant.
And of course that spins up, and that becomes the next part of the evolutionary theme.
Yeah, I must admit, I've never made it all the way through 2001. I have to admit. Yeah.
Similar to me and Star Wars Episode 4.
It is similar to you and Star Wars. Yeah. Although, I wouldn't have started like minute 75 of 2001. I wouldn't have done that. Or I wouldn't have watched 2010 and then gone back and watched 2001 like you did with like episode 2. Let's start the Star Wars franchise with what I think is the worst Star Wars film that there's been. I can't believe you did that.
Absolutely.
Never going to live that down. Okay, my number 5. Right, now I've got to fess up on this one. I've never actually seen this movie in total, but I think the start of it is one of the greatest. Well, it's the 5th best start of a movie ever, and it's Lord of War.
That's so nearly made onto my list.
With Nick Cage. So I've got no idea if it's a great film.
It is a brilliant film.
Is it a really good film?
Yeah.
And I'm looking from your face, Ross, that you have no idea what this movie is. It's a Nick Cage movie, and basically the start is
write it down,
is the journey of a bullet. So it's from the making of a bullet, the striking of the bullet, and it's basically the bullet's point of view from the moment that it is made to the moment that it is fired from a gun straight through this young person's head. And it is fascinating. It is absolute. And I can remember, I think I must have seen it on Sky or somewhere where the movie was on. And I think I was either going out or there was something that was happening, and I thought, and I watched, and I thought, I've got to watch the rest of this movie. And I never got round to watching it. It's from 2005. So it's, however many years ago that is, 18 years ago. And I love Nick Cage. I think he's a great actor. And I don't know why I've never actually gone on and watched the movie. But as a start, I mean, this is 2005 special effects, but the technology and the special effects of how they show you where the bullet has gone, how it's made, being put into a box full of other bullets and thrown around and put into the chamber of a gun. Absolutely fantastic. So again, on the video playlist, watch it. But so Rick, in the pantheon of Nick Cage movies, where would you put it?
I'd actually put it really highly, honestly.
Right, okay.
It's really, really good. It's what would I? I guess it's really watchable, but it's also great performances. It's also got who's the lad that was in Morbius, that played Morbius?
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. So Jared Leto plays his younger brother in it, and it's just about them. I think they're Ukrainian immigrants, and he just decides one day to just become. He's like, I'm going to become an arms dealer. That's what I'm going to do. And it's just his journey of being an arms dealer. So you're sort of rooting for him, but you're not rooting for him at the same time because he's a bit morally, corrupt. But it's a really, really good movie. It's a really intelligent movie, and just like you say, the opening scene. I mean, I work in advertising as a copywriter, and whenever I was trying to sell ideas, and I was just like, just watch this, what they're doing here. It's just amazing. I still go back to it now. It's a fantastic opening scene.
Yeah, thoroughly recommend anybody watching that one. Okay, Rick, your number 4 then, please.
Right.
Okay, so my number 4 is going back to Marvel. It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
And I had to put this in there because there's certain movies that I saw at the cinema, and I had no idea what to expect from this. And I went in there going, okay, so it's about a tree, it's about a raccoon, I have no idea what the hell. And then this opening scene comes along and it's really serious, and all of a sudden he plugs his earphones in, starts plays the music. It's an amazing song, which is Redbone, isn't it? Come and get
That's
you.
Right. Yeah.
And just start dancing around, and then the big titles come on as he's dancing like that, and I just went, I am absolutely well into this. This is brilliant, and just messing around and skidding around. I've never come out. There's only a couple of times I've come out of the cinema, and I've gone, that was actually brilliant, and I just thought that was amazing. And again, Chris Pratt, sort of his first real. I mean, he was in Parks and Recreation, wasn't he, and bits and bobs like that, playing Andy. But that was his first sort of real big movie, sort of starring role, and I just thought he was brilliant in it. And yeah, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. That's why it's in there, but I just think it's great.
It set the tone for the movie, didn't it? That
Absolutely.
whole. I mean, apart from the fact that the very first scene where it's Star-Lord as a little boy.
Yes, yeah,
and that was to I'm Not in Love.
I've cheated a little bit,
but that even if it was just that little bit, I mean, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
absolutely heartbreaking. And then it goes from that to the absolute comic book on screen look, and just it's just colourful, and like you say, that one split part of that where he slides across the screen. That's and the Guardians of the Galaxy in big letters comes on. I thought I was exactly the same as you. I thought I'm in. Yeah. I've got no idea what this movie is going to be about, but I'm absolutely in. And I think Guardians is my favourite sliver of the Marvel cinematic universe.
I actually totally agree. Yeah, and I think it's just unabashed fun. And I think sometimes when you get to just like Ross, you're saying, sometimes action movies, maybe you're not into it, but it's kind of a bit unfashionable just to have a fun movie, and I just think that was just so much fun. It's like I really liked that. I was like a little kid again in the cinema. It was great.
I completely agree. Completely agree. Ross. So have you watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2? Or are you going to wait till number 3 comes out and then start with number 1 and then do number 2? I don't know which way you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's probably how I do it.
Okay. Go on then, Ross, give us your number 4.
28 Days Later.
Oh, right. Okay, good one.
Great choice.
It's got more monkeys again. So apes.
You like those monkeys, then, yeah.
Monkeys. Obviously, activists breaking into a testing facility, rage breaking out, and then waking up in hospital, and then walking through London completely empty. And it was really shot in London as well, which is great. It's I've read about how they did it a long time ago. I can't remember now, but it was obviously very early hours of the morning.
Yeah.
But to have no vehicles or anything at all on the roads was a masterpiece. And I hope there's another film to come. They have talked about it, but it's one of those on-off kind of discussions.
So what was it? So the follow-up was 28 weeks later, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So would the next one I'm not making a joke, would the next one be 28 months later? Is that what they would do?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
I think so.
Makes sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a good one, though. I mean, the thing is, like these days now, that would all be done by CG, wouldn't it? It would just all be, everything would be taken away and done by CG. But to do it actually, I think there's a lot to be said for doing things physically and practically. I said this when we did the Kevin Costner top 10, and we were talking about Waterworld, is that they don't make movies like that anymore. Waterworld, the reason that it was $200 million or $150 million way back when was because everything was practical pretty much. They made big practical sets, whereas now they would just do it all with CG, and some of it gets
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
I don't want to fake Tiffany's.
No, of course you don't. No one wants a fake Tiffany's. I mean, no one. Okay, my number 4, and so it is a Star Wars film, but it's not Episode 4. It's actually Return of the Jedi. I'm going for the opening 15-20 minutes of that. So basically everything up to the moment that Jabba's sail barge explodes and the heroes get away. So it's saving Han Solo, killing Jabba, seeing Princess Leia in a bikini. I mean, that to me should have made it number 1, really, to see her in her bikini. But there you go.
Does that film also have rolling credits like on the buses, or?
It's certain every single Star Wars film, as in every single episodic Star Wars film, has the opening crawl, Ross. Yeah, all 9 of them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 9. Yes. Yeah. The standalone movies and that didn't bother having a crawl, but the all 9 episodic Skywalker saga movies. Yeah. So that's mine. I think it's just, I can remember again, what's it, 1983, so I would have been 14.
Yeah.
And I can remember the moment when like their little sail barge or their little skiff flies off of camera and they've just got away from killing Jabba. And I just remember sitting in the cinema thinking, what an opening to a movie that was. It's probably 15-20 minutes in, but what a great start, just action. And but I'm a Star Wars head, so
no, it's great. I actually love Return of the Jedi. I love it. And it's kind of, for me, it's right up there with the other two, because everyone's a bit like, oh, it's the poor. It's like, it's good, but it's not as good. I'm like, I think it's really good. Like, you know, and I completely agree. The opening scene where, you know, Luke comes on as a fully fledged Jedi, you know, and you think, oh, okay, here we go. And Han Solo being blind for most of it is just hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. Instead of a big dark blur, I can see a big light blur. So
Exactly.
His eyes are getting better.
He's
and
trying
again,
to shoot the tentacle, and he's going, I thought you were blind. Like, I'm all right.
Yeah. And again, Carrie Fisher in a bikini. What more do you want? Okay, then, Rick, your number 3, please.
Okay, so my number 3 is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's my number 3.
I mean, I think I've heard you guys talk on the podcast before about perfect movies. It's the perfect movie.
Yeah.
And it's got the perfect opening scene. Well, I know it's number 3, but it's, you know, there's obviously we'll get to the other 2, but I think it's right up there with just how to launch a movie, tell you everything about the hero that you need to know. How many iconic, and I keep saying iconic, how many iconic things has it got in the opening, 15 minutes? It's got the ball that rolls after him. It's got the idle switch where he's trying to switch the sand out. He gets on the plane as well when he's running away from the Native Americans, and there's a snake in there, which sets up his fear of snakes.
Yeah.
It's everything in there. It's funny. It's like, it's perilous. And he gets his whip out, uses his whip. He gets double crossed. Everything happens. And even just, you know, he meets the nemesis of the whole movie in the first few minutes as well. It's just, I just think it's, and actually, even when the Paramount logo's up and it fades away and there's that mountain in the background, it's just Spielberg being absolutely brilliant at what he does. And I just think it's brilliant.
That moment, it is that moment when it looks like he's going to get double crossed by the guy, when the guy clicks his gun and he uses the whip for the first time and then comes out of the shadows. I mean, if there's ever, say the I word again, a more iconic reveal of a hero coming out of the shadow, it's that is Harrison Ford, that is Indiana Jones. But like you say, you find out everything about that character. You find out that he is an expert, you know, when they're walking through, don't go into the light, just stay away from that light. And obviously, of course, the guy forgets that when he's double crossed him, and you know, the horror of the guy with just spikes all through him and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Which is a young Alfred Molina as
young
well.
Alfred Molina, absolutely.
Yeah.
Satipo, I think, or Sapito, whenever it was his name.
Yeah. But again, I do love the fact that Indy, like you say, he's an expert, but also he's kind of an everyman, and he's sort of muddling through as best he can as well. And it's just those two things of he knows exactly what he's doing, but he also sometimes wings it. I love that.
And also, he was a hero that could get hurt.
Yeah,
that was the difference. There was a lot of like especially in the 80s when you had Arnie and Sylvester Stallone that bullets bounced off them. He was somebody that you punched him in the face, he'd have a split lip, and he wouldn't quite know where he was for a split second. But no, I mean that's why it's my number 3 as well. Yeah. Ross, now you've got to tell me you've watched Raiders. I nearly
had it on my list.
Oh, did you? You nearly had it on your list. Excellent.
Oh no.
Yeah, but not because I'd watched it, because I knew of it.
Right. That's fair enough. No, I've got that for Lord of War.
I haven't watched the film, but I had seen the opening scene.
Right.
And I know it is, as soon as you said this is going to be a podcast on opening scenes of movies, this was one that immediately sprang to mind because I've seen the movie. I think it's one of those films that I know I have had it on TV and just not paid attention fully, but seen bits of it. So there's a number of films like that. Not Star Wars, obviously, bin them off, but good films. They're often on TV. Bonds, loads of Bonds. I've probably seen a bit of every Bond, but don't know that I have. But this, I know I have seen the opening. Yeah.
Well, at least you've seen the opening. I mean, that's fair enough.
Thanks. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair enough.
To be fair, Ross, your list is actually still pretty good, considering you've missed out certain movies. This list is actually pretty good.
It was like the music one. It's very niche. I kind of just go off on these weird tangents.
Very niche. So what is your number 3 then, Ross?
My number 3 is Gravity.
Right, okay.
Quite a recent film, but I love space stuff anyway. Not Star Wars.
Apart from Star Wars, obviously.
No, real space. Real stuff.
How dare you? Star Wars is a documentary. I'll have you out.
But I working on an international space on the International Space Center, and the just tranquility of the silence that they're working in, the conversation between them is just interrupted by just the sound of their breaths coming through as they're talking, and they're unscrewing things with this screwdriver thing that is almost silent because there's no sound carrying, and there's like a screw that flies off and he reaches out to grab it, and it sort of shows you how perilous, I suppose it is, the fact that you could just spin out of control so easily. And then when they hear over the intercom that a Russian satellite's been exploded by the Russians themselves, and there's debris coming their way, but it's okay, it should be okay. And then suddenly it's not okay, and the International Space Center is spinning around and she's attached to this arm. There's so much energy, and it's brilliant. I think it's I've said perfect about loads of scenes. It's a very good scene. And then she spins off into the darkness, and just that dread of endlessness that she's heading into. Yeah,
I remember going to the cinema to see that, and I think it's a black screen, and then it just the Earth just pops onto the screen, and it looks absolutely massive, but it looks beautiful. And I can remember that it took my breath away. I loved Gravity the first time I saw it. I mean, I like it, but I was just mesmerized the first time, because I think we saw it in 3D. I wasn't really a massive fan of 3D movies, but it seemed to work in that context for that movie.
Yeah, fantastic movie, actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I just always think of the ending where she washes up on the beach, and it's such a contrast from the start. It's just, it's terrifying. The start, brilliant.
Yeah, where you're out looking down on the Earth, and you realise how insignificant every person on Earth is at that point, and then you're on the beach, and suddenly you're of significance because you're one individual in a smaller scene suddenly. Did you see long ago there was a program, there was like a reality TV program hosted by Johnny Vaughan, where these people were fooled into thinking that they'd flown over to Russia to do cosmonaut training, and then actually gone up into space. And it was filmed on channel. It was shown on Channel 4, and audience, people would watch it on TV, knowing that they were not actually in space, but they were in zero gravity. They were in simulators and stuff. And the people on it genuinely believed that they walked out onto this deck and overlooked Earth from space. And they hadn't. It was just screens that wrapped around the whole thing. It was a very clever simulator. And then at the end, the doors just opened into this studio audience of their family and friends. And he said to them that they were all like quite pissed off about it.
I bet they were.
I'm surprised.
But he said, even if you haven't actually seen Earth from above now, you thought at that moment that you had, and that feeling that you had then, none of us
completely disappeared because you're so pissed off with me.
But that feeling was there. You had that feeling. You had the genuine belief that you were looking at Earth from above. And we have never had that feeling. So you have got something that millions and millions of people, billions of people on the planet have never had, even if it was fake.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard that. How long ago was that?
It was about probably 1999, something like that. It was, or maybe 2000, maybe just after Big Brother was on. There were a number of kind of reality TV things that they tried. So there was one about prisoners and wardens, and where people signed up to be in it, and they played one of two roles. There was one called Shattered, where they had to stay awake for 10 days or something, and they had like mind-numbing tasks.
I think I've seen that one, the one where they had to stay awake. Yeah.
And they had like a £100,000 pot that was reducing every time someone dropped off or something. And this space one was one of those as well. It might have been 2001 maybe, but it was really interesting to watch.
Was it Space Cadets?
Yes, there was a mole. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a mole.
Space Cadets,
as well.
the satellite show.
Oh,
or maybe that's a different show that was going with space. Oh, there's Space Cadets there. A group of starry-eyed applicants are auditioned to undergo intense training in Russia before being flown 100 kilometers up into the space. Up into near space. They will spend up to 5 days orbiting Earth. Or will they? Unbeknownst to them, they won't be in space at all. They won't even be in Russia. They'll actually be in a disused military base at a secret location somewhere in the UK.
In Slough.
Oh, Lord. Poor bastards.
Oh, it's 2005.
2005, yeah.
A bit later than I thought.
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
It was only 9 days.
They're all thinking, I can make a fortune on the book. I can write a book about this, and wow. Well, that's something I didn't know.
So Gravity.
Wonderful. Okay, my number 3 was Raiders of the Lost Ark. So Rick, we're back to you with your number 2, please.
So my number 2 is Saving Private Ryan.
That's my number 2. That's like your number 2 as well, Ross. Yes.
Yeah, number 2 as well.
Oh, well, we've got a hat trick of 2s.
We've got a hat trick of 2s.
No, I mean, just as you guys have probably put it down there, it's just horrifying, isn't it? It's just I think what it does really well is it doesn't glamorize the violence. It basically it makes it almost it's a really difficult watch because you can see they're terrified.
Yeah.
And it is pretty much certain death. And it's not only certain death, it's very violent certain death. And it really hammers home just how many people died on D-Day on the Omaha landings and just how you didn't really have a choice. You were just told, right, go on, run up this beach with all these machine guns firing directly at you and just see if you can make your way through. See you later. And that's it. And it's just horrific.
Absolutely. Roll of the dice.
Yeah, it's a roll of the dice, exactly. But it just deals with it in such sort of a respectful way, I think. Whilst at the same time being completely, there's people being trampled underneath the water. There's one guy carrying his arm around, I think, at one point, and you just think, oh, Jesus, it's just horrific. But it's brilliant. It's brilliantly done, anyway.
I think it was very clever of Spielberg as well, because the very first scene is what I'm assuming, what I thought anyway, was Tom Hanks's character as an old man at the graveyard, because it goes into like a close-up of his eyes, then it morphs into a close-up of Tom Hanks on the boat, but actually it's not. It's what's his name, Matt Damon's character, isn't it, as an old man? But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's that fact that he's chatting to like his mate, and next minute his mate gets shot in the chest, and the one that always got me was the guy that was a bullet ricochets off his helmet, and he takes it off, and they go, "You lucky son of a bitch," and then poof, it just fucking gets shot in the head. And I thought it's that easy. It's it's just the fact that it just like it's indiscriminate, just people just getting as soon as they get off the boat. Well, they don't even get off the boat, some of them, do they?
Yeah.
But it's a perfect thing of showing you this is what war is like. If anybody watched that, nobody would want to go to war, would they? You wouldn't want to fight in anything.
No.
It's even the like the zipping lines of bullets through the sea as well.
Yes.
Where you can kind of hear the ricochet of it, but it's still muted. It's muffled by the sea, but you can just see the lines and then blood sort of emanating from wherever it hit.
Yeah, it's the closest I think
All Quiet on the West.
I haven't seen that yet. Have you seen that, Ross? Have you?
Yeah, I've seen it twice through, and I can see why that's raved about, because it's that similar kind of non-glorification, but showing the very bloody, violent, obviously trenches instead of a beach, but it's similarly done, I think.
Yeah. I mean, well, obviously it isn't my number one, but it was very. I mean, originally when I wrote the list, that was the first one that I thought of when it came to movie openings. It was the very, very first one, but it slightly got taken off the top by something else, which we will soon find out. But yeah, we all had number two. Look, we all had number two together, so that's good. So before we reveal our number ones, Rick, do you want to give us your countdown from 10 to 2? Ross will do the same, and then I'll do the same.
Okay, so my number 10 was Avengers Infinity War. My number 9 was The Dark Knight. My number 8 was Casino Royale. 7, Trainspotting. 6, Inglourious Bastards. 5, Star Wars Episode 4. 4, Guardians of the Galaxy. 3, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And 2 was Saving Private Ryan.
Wonderful. Ross, your 10 to 2, please.
They are Scream, then Full Metal Jacket in 9. Number 8 was Schindler's List. 7 was Trainspotting. 6 was Pulp Fiction. 5, 2001: A Space Odyssey. 4, 28 Days Later. 3 was Gravity. And 2 is Saving Private Ryan.
Wonderful. And mine is number 10, La La Land. 9, The Dark Knight. 8, Inglourious Bastards. 7, Watchmen. 6, There Will Be Blood. 5, Lord of War. 4, Return of the Jedi. 3, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And 2, Saving Private Ryan. I wonder, Rick, whether me and you will have the same top 3. It is possible. We could well do. So, Rick, what is your number 1 movie opening of all time?
My number 1 movie opening of all time is Goodfellas.
Oh. No, we haven't got the same then. Okay.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say yes.
Okay. Now, this is the one shot, isn't it? Isn't this all a one shot?
No. So this is just the opening, where it just opens on them in the car, and it's just it's Henry Hill, and it's so Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, and Robert De Niro, and they're just in the car driving along, and they're hearing thumps, and they're all looking at each other, going, "What?" And obviously, it's what you were talking about, Ross, about nipping ahead in time to come back again, and it's just showing the characters, and it's a way of like Scorsese in introducing like the different characters in the gang, because it's just obviously they stop the car, they open the boot, and it's is it Joey Bats in there? I think it's like or some guy, I can't remember what the mobster's name is now, but he's obviously got him in the boot, and he's not quite dead. And then Joe Pesci just runs up and just absolutely stabs him to death, and you just go, Jesus, okay, right.
Not that big.
It's massive. It's like a knife he took off his mum, I think, before they were at like her dinner, like I go to her house for dinner, and he just stabs him to death, and you just look at Ray Liotta looking at Joe Pesci, just going, right, and we're going, geez, all right, and we don't know what the hell's going on. We don't know what's happened, and it's just so violent and gory. The red tail lights of the car is just lighting everything up as well. And then Rob De Niro just comes up and just shoots him dead, and then Joe Pesci goes up and just goes to close the trunk, and then he says the line, as far back as I can ever remember, I just wanted to be a gangster, and then he shuts things. That's it, and that's the opening scene. And I just think, oh, it's just so Scorsese and so brilliant, and that line is so, and I have to say it's so iconic, but I just absolutely think it's brilliant. And Joe Pesci for me as well is just, I just think in that movie he absolutely steals the movie. I think he's a bona fide psychopath in that, but it's great.
Yeah, it's great. Great. I watched that scene. Well, I watched that film very recently, actually.
Yeah.
All of it, Ross?
Such a great one.
All of the movie? Did you watch all of it?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen. I love gangster movies.
Right.
I watched Godfathers the other day. Casino recently. Not Casino. Goodfellas recently. Casino watched last year.
Yeah.
So I'm all over those.
Yeah.
Well, if we do top 10 gangster movies, then
Not
we know who to call.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nazis and gangsters. I'm fine with Star Wars.
Right, okay. You might want to rephrase that, Ross.
That's a good soundbite, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not a T-shirt, is it? You don't want to have that on a T-shirt. Okay, so that's great, Rick. Ross, what is your number one?
It's Inglourious Basterds.
Oh, is it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's the length of it. It's everything. And also, the guy who plays the farmer, Dennis Menashe or something like that. He's have you seen Spotless? Did you ever watch that? It was a TV program on Netflix, 10 episodes long, and he was one of two French brothers, and one French brother lived in London, and his job was to clean up blood splatter from suicides or anyone getting shot, whatever. And so he was on this job cleaning, and then this Menashe, he comes in having driven from Paris in a van with a dead prostitute in the back, and he's kept the prostitute because she swallowed a load of his drugs. And it's basically the two of them then getting involved with gangsters of London and trying to get these drugs back and stuff. It's a really great series that unfortunately didn't get a second series commissioned, but it was meant to be coming, but it never did. Oh, so yeah, so that farmer, I saw him in that first, even though it was in reverse. So then
that's how you do it, though, Ross. That's how you do it. You do it all in reverse.
I do it backwards. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean that's another one that we've all three of us have had. I had it at number 8. You had it at number 6, Rick, and you had it at number 1, Ross. There you go. Okay, my number 1 is about as harrowing as Saving Private Ryan, and it's Up. It's the Pixar movie Up. Now, it's just sweet, beautiful, heartbreaking. The whole Ellie and Carl Fredricksen, their whole love affair and life, and sadly the death of one of them as well. It was something that Pixar used to do really well. Not so much now, but they used to really be able to mix comedy and heartbreak like effortlessly. Effortlessly, is that right? Effortlessly. And Up is the perfect example of that. Just the first 10 minutes rips your heart out, stomps it on the floor, puts it back, and then says, right, we're going to try and just revive you a little bit now for the next hour and 30 minutes. It's a great film, but I don't think it actually lives up to that first 10-15 minutes because it just destroys you as a piece of movie, if you like. I don't know what you guys think, Rick.
No, I completely agree with you. And again, this is one that sort of popped in and out. I don't know why. Like, I think it's a really beautifully written and sort of like animated opening scene. Actually, I just don't think I've seen it often enough. You know, but I think I agree with you. I think it balances complete and total heartbreak with almost the joy of life at the same time. It's a really interesting mix, and that's why it's so effective. It's not just saying one thing; it's saying several different things.
Yeah.
And just the idea of like companionship and then loneliness, and it's got everything in that first few minutes. And I can understand why it was filmed as a short, because it's just powerful as anything. Yeah,
absolutely, completely agree. Ross, have you seen Up?
I'm just writing it on my list of films to watch after this podcast, along with the entire Star Wars franchise, Lord of War, Avengers, Dark Knight,
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, definitely.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a fun film, not an action film. So
that's right.
Yeah, I've got a list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Okay, let's get through.
No, I watched that with Olivia. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some honourable mentions here. So Corey Graham said the opening of Airplane with the Jaws reference right out the gate, and then it starts like a regular airport scene that slowly becomes more unhinged. It's gold. Also, the intro storytelling on Papel Picado in Coco is really cool. Yeah, Coco's another good one. Stu Grant, the Ghostbusters Library opening, 2001: A Space Odyssey, the original X-Men, Halloween, Dawn of the Dead remake, Back to the Future, Scream, The Matrix, Austin Powers, any of the three, and Grease, the animated credits. Yeah, they're really good. Actually, the opening to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird is pretty good too. Lisa Buchanan says, well, on that note, Corey, the opening of Jaws is embedded in my memory. The buoy bell, the clothes on the beach, the view from below the surface of the water, the music, the attack. On a happier, sadder note, the animated movie Up, so poignant, amazing a cartoon can resonate. My friend Eric says the opening of Apocalypse Now, the doors playing, the fan spinning, and the segueing into the helicopter blades. Right, this one is a Twitter handle, and it's PH at fatfuck4. So that's why it is. But it's PHPH. Just so you know that. Fatfuck4 says Goodfellas, A Clockwork Orange, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and Star Wars: A New Hope. That's probably one of my favourite Twitter handles I've ever seen. Fatfuck4. Thank you for that. At Andy McEwen1 said Goodfellas, The Watchman, In the Name of the Father is underrated. Great opening with the trebles. Kit Torpin said the obvious, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, starting with the fade in from the Paramount Mountain into Live Mountain, and you said Rick. Saving Private Ryan and just about any Bond movie. Throw in The Fugitive, It Never Stops, and Baby Driver. Opening credits, Star Wars and Catch Me If You Can. Oh, and Pav, still think you lied about your fave Costner movie. Yes, I did. Oh, I didn't lie, but I had to choose that because of my wife. So listen back to that episode and you'll understand. Rick Tyndall said the D-Day scene from Saving Private Ryan, Daniel Craig's intro into James Bond in Casino Royale, and Raiders of the Lost Ark and Jaws are both great. Eddie J. Miller said the opening credits of Deadpool are the best thing ever filmed. That was one of the ones that was close to being on my list because absolute genius. I don't suppose you've seen Deadpool either, Ross, have you? Add that to your list. Add Deadpool to your list because that is batshit crazy.
Did anyone have Babe Pig in the City or
no? They didn't.
Mr. Nanny starring.
They didn't have that. I mean, somebody did mention that. They did put that in, but they were a guest on today's episode. So
the opening of the classic "Stop or My Mom Will Shoot."
Yes.
And I'm a little bit saddened that no one had Sister Act, either one or Back in the Habit.
Well,
both great episodes.
Back in the Habit though wins the award for the best sort of subtitle, sort of title for a follow-up film about nuns.
Back in the Habit, yeah. So that's it. Before we actually do say our goodbyes and everything like that, I've also got to say, I forgot to say at the start, hello to Kim Leslie, who happens to be our new Patreon top head. So thank you very much, Kim, for your support. And I shall also counter that to you, Rick, as well. Thank you so much for your support. What do you think of the name Top Head? Do you like that that's what you are now to us? You are a top head?
What is it? What is that? Is that just is like a?
That's a Patreon. All of our Patreoners are top heads now.
I love it. Yeah, I like that. It was good.
Yeah, we've got T-shirts with it on now, with top head and that. That's what we've got. I forgot to wear it tonight, but I should have worn mine.
Yeah, I like that.
But there you go. So you are officially now a
It's
top
a good job
head.
that Rick. It's a good job Rick didn't slag it off, given you've got T-shirts, mate.
Well, yeah, exactly. What do you think about it? I didn't like it.
What do you think of Top Head? Well, I'd prefer Top Hat, because it actually gives the idea of a
To be fair, that £1,000 we've spent on all the T-shirts I've got in my other shed now would have been gone to shit, wouldn't it? For tax purposes, we haven't spent £1,000 on T-shirts. Just to let you know, just for tax purposes, we haven't. But no,
it was great. It's really good. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
good.
Rick, thanks ever so much for joining us, mate. And next time you've got a classic idea for another top 10, let us know, and we'll have you back like a shot.
Will do. Thanks very much for having me. Been really
Cheers,
good
mate.
fun.
Before we do go, though, Ross, do you want to tell everybody how they can get in touch with us and all that gubbins?
I would love to. You can find us on all social media on @toptenpods. You can email us at toptenpods@hotmail.com if you want to get in touch or send us suggestions for episodes. You can join our Patreon and support the podcast at www.patreon.com/top10pods, where there are great rewards such as bonus episodes, video playlists, limited edition merchandise, and you can get to be a guest on your own episode also. Please come and subscribe to us on YouTube, TikTok, and all the podcast providers, and links will be in the show notes.
Thank you very much, Ross. And thank you very much for holding the fort in Neil's place for a couple of episodes. It's been nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Next time, we'll choose a couple of subjects that you know a bit more about, the 90s music and movies that you haven't seen.
Maybe Steve Bruce through the 90s.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, we'll find something for you, mate.
Football clubs managed by Ian Dowie. That would be great.
Is there 10 of those? I don't even think there is 10 of those, is there?
There's about 15, I think.
Oh, is there?
Nah, there's not really.
Oh, wow.
No, probably not. Rick, once again, thanks ever so much, mate. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you once again. Thank you
to meet you,
very
Rick.
much for your support. Thank you, Ross. Thank you. Thank you, everybody else. And let's go start the countdown.
9.